Do you hear that, ladies? They blow for Brandon Moreno, and they also blow for Erin Blanchfield. That's right. Yeah, guys, sorry. It is the UFC Edmonton post-fight show. And we're here to talk about everything that happened in the flyweight doubleheader of Brandon Moreno's victory over Amir Albazi and Erin Blanchfield squeaking one out over Rose Namajunas. I am Jed Mashu. Howdy, howdy. Joining me, the king of the north himself, the prodigal son of the nation through which this card was hosted, put for. I'm talking, of course, of Alexander Kaylee, AK. How are we feeling about the latest UFC trip to the Great White North? You're muted.
I'm muted. My image is blurry. It's rough. It's rough out here. I am so tired. You know what? This video quality is reflective of how I feel inside after, I think we just saw, 27 straight UFC fights? That was a card, man. Nice main event. Nice main events. I mean, I had some good fights on there, too, but I don't know if anyone else like me, man. And I love Edmonton. Shout out to Edmonton. Looked like a great host to the UFC as always. But I don't blame that crowd. They were a little gassed out at certain points because for those of us watching at home, in the comfort of our own homes, with all kinds of options to distract ourselves, to not have to just zone in on the in-cage action. Man, I was still spent. I don't know, guys. Maybe that should be the poll. Should I ask the poll how burnt out people were by the end of the night? No, I'm not gonna do that.
You don't, because I'm going to ask you a question related to that in just a moment. But before we do that, also joining us, of course, you knew he was going to be here. Baddest stash in the game, Mr. 3024 himself. No sleeves, no mercy. Casey Lyden.
Hi, Canada.
He does have sleeves and mercy tonight, though.
Yeah. And real fact here, AK is actually blurry and pixelated in real life. It's even scarier. Yeah.
Shout out Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
What if the problem is Bigfoot is blurry? AK. To your point, this event felt very long. Per the great Mike Bond over at MMA Junkie, 3 hours, 6 minutes, and 38 seconds of total fight time. UFC Edmonton is officially the third longest fight card in UFC history. Which probably contributes to why it felt very long. We were talking about this on Slack internally. I felt bad because, full disclosure, I had a wedding last night and my morning and most of my afternoon was a bit rough today as I was recovering from that. And so I thought maybe this was just a me thing. It felt like this was dragging on. And then I came to understand that everyone sort of felt this way. And so, AK, before we get into the particulars of the big fights, we're going to talk about them. We didn't get in, at least I don't think we got a gymnastics score from you beforehand, but kind of just give us a broad sentiment on how was this fight card overall, with the benefit of hindsight now.
I thought we agreed I might just retire the gymnastics score just because there's so many cards, and when you're doing a gymnastics routine or the way the system was going to be based, it was supposed to be judging on the best of the best. That's how you judge Olympic or international gymnastics. You're looking at supposedly the best offerings you have, and you rate from there. That's not what we get. And this card, in fairness, was slightly above UFC Apex drudgery. Let's be honest. They did what they could. They put former UFC champion at the top. You got a former UFC champion. Two-time UFC champion at the top. Two-time UFC champion in the co-main event. You stacked it with Canadian talent, which we always say, if you're going to go on the road, please try and put local fighters. I don't want to say local. Not a lot of these fighters from Alberta, but at least obviously you're going to Canada. You don't go there that often. Put Canadian fighters on, and right, same thing. If you go to Brazil, put Brazilian fighters on it. Go to England, get some British fighters on there. Not necessarily everyone from the city, but at least from the country. It seems like a small thing to ask. So they did that. I don't want to have to break out the gymnastics score that often these days. For this one, though, on paper, I wasn't very as enthused as some were about like the prelims and the undercard. So probably would have gone like 7.5, 7.6. It wouldn't I wouldn't even gone over 8. As much as I liked how the top two fights looked on paper. Just thought there'd be a lot of decisions and not like super great decisions, which I think is how it turned out. But I mean, this is easy for me to say in retrospect.
But hey, you got 6 out of 9 Canadian fighters victorious, I believe.
Hells yeah.
So
Hells yeah.
much better than our last trip up north. So
yes,
you got that to look forward to. No Canadians in the main or co-main, and we're going to spend the bulk of our time on that. And your main event, let's just get to it. Brandon Moreno returns to the win column, AK. Had been on a 2-fight losing skid coming into this, a big narrative. A lot of the promo material was talking about Moreno saying, felt a little burnt out, decided I needed to take some time off after the Mexico City card. Took that time off. I'm feeling refreshed, rejuvenated. And frankly, I think he looked very much like that coming in. Pitched nearly a shutout. One judge did give Albazi a round. It was 50-45s on the other two scorecards. And pretty close to a flawless performance from the Assassin Baby. So, AK, let's just start right there and kind of what are your thoughts on Moreno, how he looked, and what we just witnessed?
I think he looked as good as some of us expected him to look. I know there was some I don't think there was much concern. I was just going based on how other media members were perceiving how he might look here. I think a lot of us picked Moreno. I don't have a comprehensive record of the media picks, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people picked Moreno, just based on his track record and the fact that it's his 2-fight losing streak is very deceptive. That's such a like if you were running with any sort of narrative of like, oh my gosh, is Moreno has he lost a step? Has he fallen out of his prime? I think the only way you would think that is like if you weren't really paying attention to the last 2 fights, because the Pantoja fight was awesome. I scored it for Moreno. Even if you scored it for Pantoja, I think we can all agree Moreno looked fantastic in that fight. Royval fight, a little bit muckier, but also a fight that I scored for Moreno. So you're coming off 2 splitty city calls, and that's really not the worst thing. And again, if you look at Albazi, you're like, okay, well, this guy's also coming off a split call. It was a close one. He's clearly a good fighter. I think a guy who's going to be in the top 10, top 15 for some time. Is he anywhere near the level of Moreno is really a question you have to ask yourself. If this fight had been booked like a year ago, what would the odds have been? And Moreno would have been probably a huge favorite. So the fact that the line was so close going in was a little, I guess, not surprising because it's still a losing streak. But putting all that aside, ignoring all those narratives, if you just watch this fight, you would tell yourself Moreno is still one of the 3 best flyweights in the world. I mean, the boxing, the striking was there. The takedown defense, I think Albazi's best chance was probably to win with his grappling. He wasn't able to get anything going. I think there was one moment, it was the 2nd or 3rd round, where he got a takedown, was going to do that thing where you crawl on the guy's legs and just, hold on. And Moreno literally just brushed him off. Never let him quite get his grip. Never let him get settled, and just brushed him off and immediately stood up. And that, I think, if you were watching, you were like, oh shit, Albazi's in trouble. Sure enough, Moreno pieced him up. And it was a pleasure to watch. And again, this is not an indictment of Albazi. I think he's still got a lot of work to do. Could be a contender in the future. He just happened to run again into a guy who, if one scorecard had gone his way, would still be the UFC champion.
Yeah. So Albazi was officially credited with a takedown, but that lasted all of 3 seconds. Frankly, got dinged up in this fight. Moreno, everything he was trying was working. A little bit of a slow start, but kind of built and built. And at the end, in that final round, we saw him rock Albazi, kind of really start to try and put a stamp on this fight. Credit to Albazi, super tough dude. I mean, took a beating in stages of this. Was hurt several times and kind of showed a great poker face, battled through. Even did the Max Holloway point at the ground with 30 seconds left. It didn't kind of play out the same way, but, credit to him coming in off a major layoff. And for Moreno, I do think, and he talked about in his post-fight speech, hey, man, I needed some time off to just kind of reset. I've been competing high rate. I want some time with the family. And I thought he looked great out here. So, AK, with this win, Flyweight's a really interesting place right now, particularly the men's side of Flyweight. We do have at UFC 310 coming up. Alejandro Pantoja is fighting Kaya Sakura, who is making his UFC debut. I think we all agreed that if Albazi won, he was probably going to get next in line. Now things are a little interesting here for what's happening at flyweight right now, just because Brandon Royval just picked up that big win over Tetsuya Taira, but he just lost to Pantoja, and that was not a competitive fight. Whereas Moreno, many people thought Moreno actually deserved to beat Pantoja in their second/third fight, depending on how you view tough. So the question here, AK, Moreno was not specific as to what he wanted after this. Seems open to a lot of things, wants to take some time off. But where are we going with Brandon Moreno? I know you have a show about this tomorrow, but I want to talk about this now because I don't know what to do with Brandon Moreno right now.
Yeah, I don't know how much time he's going to take off. After the Royval loss, he said he was going to take time off, and he sort of did, longer than usual, but barely. I remember I had to look back and see like his schedule when he was champion and he was coming up. It was kind of fighting once every 6 or 7 months, and the gap between Royval and this fight was, I guess, relative to him, like an eternal 8 months. He took 1 extra month off to compete, which really isn't much at all when you think about it. And he said he just, the opportunity came along, then he just couldn't say no. It was itching. He wanted to fight. So technically that 1 extra month, I guess, was really hard for him to take. So do I see him taking more than 8 months off? Again, I doubt it. I think we'll see him, back in the summer, the latest summer of 2025, which I guess would be around 8 months, and that's about it. But longer than that, I don't think so. I think we'll see him June, July. I would love to see him fight Pantoja again. I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility if Pantoja beats Asakura, just because that last fight was so close and so good. Moreno is a popular fighter, at least relative to flyweights, and we can. I'm the last person who would say ignore results in the Ultimate Fighter, but if you're the UFC and you want to say it was only 0-2 Moreno to Pantoja, you could fudge it and say, well, Ultimate Fighter fights are just exhibitions, not official. So officially, he's only down 0-2 in this series. So it's entirely possible. Things really got mucked up by like that Mokaev fight too, with Mokaev getting released. We thought that was going to provide some clarity, and then Royval holding off Tetsuya Taira. That Taira was going to step into that title picture. So I still think the winner of this fight, of tonight's fight, Moreno, could get the winner of the Asakura and Pantoja fight. Definitely, if Asakura wins, I hope they don't go immediate rematch. As much as I love Pantoja, and I'd love to see a fresh matchup with the Assassin Baby and Asakura.
It could happen. I genuinely have no idea. I'm fascinated to see how this plays out because if Asakura does win, wouldn't shock me if they went to an immediate, but also Brandon Royval probably would deserve the crack at Asakura should Kai kind of pull off that small upset and become champion. His first UFC fight. I'm just getting this out now for your no. Please take this into consideration. I believe Brandon Moreno will fight Asu Almabayev next because he's fought everybody else. And that dude is winning and has a fun hat. And Brandon Moreno will not say no to anybody. So I think that's where we're going to go with that.
Is Moreno about to become like the flyweight Max Holloway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless we do finally just pull the trigger on the Cejudo matchup, which now would be a terrific time for it, frankly. But there doesn't seem to be a ton of momentum to make that fight happen for whatever reason. So
Moreno keeps saying like he wants to eat more. I know he's joking about
that was like the first thing he said. I want to eat.
I want to eat. It's like, hey, eat. You know what? Next fight, don't 10 pounds more off your weight cut, buddy. Go fight Cejudo.
Enjoy that. Enjoy your tiramisu. It's terrific. On the other side of this, though, AK, Amir Albazi is off almost it was like 18 months or something since he had fought before here. Commentary made a big deal of it, and I think to some extent I agreed with. He looked a little rusty to start and then never got going. What were your thoughts on Albazi's performance? Kind of, does this make you reevaluate where you think his ceiling is? Is he a guy who's never going to fight for a title but be good? Or was this just a one-time setback against one of the very best fighters in the world?
Yeah, I won't rule him out. I think even if he hadn't been coming off a 500-day layoff, even if we got sort of people really hated that Kai Kara-France performance. I didn't think it was that bad. Like people could see my robbery review. I didn't even think it was that much of a robbery. Like I would have scored it for Kai probably, but I didn't think it was that bad. That is like universally regarded as a robbery. Every time people talk about it now, and I'm like, I'd go back and watch it. It wasn't like, I didn't think it was that bad. It wasn't a great fight for Albazi. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think he was that bad. And I think even if before the layoff, if he had fought Moreno, you would have had a similar result. He was dealing with a lot, though. I don't know if everyone knows exactly what happened. He had a neck injury that pulled him out of his last fight, and then that had like lingering effects. But I think before he dealt with that, he had a heart condition, it sounded like, and then later had a neck issues with his neck that were so serious. He said he couldn't feel. He lost a feeling in one of his arms. So a lot happened to this guy over the 500 days, and I think it was a lot to ask him to come back and again face a guy who we now remember is one of the 3 best in the world in his division. And even though Moreno is not ranked in our pound for pound top 20 at the time right now, he might be like pound for pound one of the 20 best fighters in the world. If maybe not based on recent results, but if you're talking about skill level, it's probably up there. He's probably up there. So that's what Albazi lost to today. How old is Albazi? He's like, what, 30?
That sounds right, but hold on.
31. He just turned 31. He just turned 31. Flyweight's not a young man's division, but I do think there's a path for him at some point to maybe fight for the title. But I think most people would agree they wouldn't bet on it right now. They wouldn't bet on it right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's maybe just a notch below. Again, if you thought he lost the Kai Kara-France fight, if you thought he obviously lost tonight, maybe he's just a notch below the top 6, top 7, and that's okay. Like I said, I think he's going to hang around this division for a bit. So at this point, yes, I would be surprised if he someday fights for a UFC title. I think that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think I didn't realize it coming in, but this does feel a little like this was your opportunity, and it's going to be tough road to hoe to get yourself back into the position you were. But again, I want to shout him out, man. Tough as hell. Several points I thought that he could have just given up the goat there and hung in, dug in, and produced a fun fight. Not a great fight, not an amazing fight, but fun enough. And I suspect he will now be on Tatsuro Taira duty because that just makes a ton of sense. But AK, we got other things to talk about, namely the co-main event. Erin Blanchfield ekes out a unanimous decision, 48-47s across the board over former 2-time strawweight champion Rose Namajunas. And let's start right here, AK. This is less controversial than I thought it was going to be, because I scored this fight for Rose Namajunas, and I was not alone in that. Nobody seems up in arms about this decision. I'm not seeing robberies, but how did you score the co-main event?
Yeah, I would have leaned, I think, 48-47. Blanchfield, I think I was fine. I would have just gone with, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the result here on MMA decisions. Weirdly,
I didn't see it up last time I was looking. It was a very clear
weird
scoring for the judges. They all gave Rose the first 2 and Blanchfield the back 3.
No, I was trying to get a collection of the media results because I wasn't a lot on social media tonight, so I didn't see the general consensus. But I would have leaned towards Blanchfield. Didn't have any problem with the scoring. Definitely a close 4th round. Excuse me. That seemed to be the split one, and really you can go either way. I think I was leaning towards Blanchfield just because what I saw weirdly it's just like a Dominic Cruz way of scoring. Like what I saw in the 3rd, I felt like the fight was starting to tilt in her direction, so my mind was probably like, oh, this is close, but probably a Blanchfield round. But I don't think 48-47 Namajunas is crazy at all. Jed, I don't want to air out our dirty laundry. Do we want to talk to people about your live takes on the fight during? Well, I guess they probably read your live blog, so. I don't think
I don't have dirty laundry. I'm happy. I will discuss all things in public. So air away.
I don't think it's any secret that you were not thrilled with young 25 Erin Blanchfield's game plan today.
It was dumb as hell.
You tweeted that. Okay, you tweeted round 1, maybe the dumbest round of the year, I believe is what you had said.
Yes, and I stand by that.
What did you say in the Slack? Various messages in the Slack essentially saying you had given up on Blanchfield. You had given up. She's not going to be a champion.
Those first 10 minutes were the worst. Like, truly, I cannot think of a worse way to have approached that fight. And I was baffled by what was happening because she didn't do anything, AK. She won the last 3 rounds. And again, I thought I gave round 4 to Rose. Fine to give it to Erin. I'm going to go rewatch and see if maybe I was getting caught into a narrative or something like that. But like the first 2 rounds, she did nothing. And it was not that Rose was doing a lot of cool stuff and she didn't have answers. She just didn't do anything. She just stood there and was willingly engaging in this long range single shot kickboxing matchup that she is uniquely bad at in general, and very uniquely bad at. Like, that is the exact fight Rose wants. And Erin was like, yes, please let us have the exact fight you are very good at and I am excruciatingly bad at. It was mind boggling that she just seemed to brain fart. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on. And coincidentally, when she stopped doing that, she then won the fight. So it was a real roller coaster as I was watching this, because I have a lot of take stock in Erin Blanchfield at this point in time. And I was quite upset that I was going to look like an idiot on the internet, which I never do. I always look like a genius, AK. So yeah, I was going through it until she got the memo and started fighting like Erin Blanchfield.
I see a young fighter working through some things. It is frustrating to watch because this is a young fighter being given some very big opportunities, and who I think a lot of us in the media had embraced. We had embraced the story of this 23-year-old, 24-year-old, 25-year-old, whatever she was, as we were sort of watching her come up the ranks. And we were very excited about the possibility of this blue chip prospect that was going to win a title again by 25 or younger, and then just rule over the division for like 3 or 4 years. So it was great. I think in a way we fooled ourselves and may have heightened our own expectations, because it's not like Erin was. She was dominating most of her UFC competition. It's not like she was getting these super highlight reel finishes. We were kind of like, well, those will come with time. But just the fact that she's winning these very convincing 30-27s, like, we kind of, and then she started getting some finishes, right? So it seemed like everything was going to plan, but then big step up in competition with some of these opponents, and I think in somewhere there was a desync. Like, I think maybe either the competition was, they pushed too fast, not that they had much of a choice, because again, she was working her way up the rankings. It was time to fight the Menals. It was time to fight the Rose Namajunases. But again, we have to tell ourselves this is, I think, nowhere near a finished product. So I'm always somewhat encouraged by fighters who, yes, don't look their best, may seem to be trending in a bad direction, but still find a way to win. She probably could have made her night a lot easier for herself, but this feels like, a little bit easier said than done, right? I think Rose came out with the right idea of keeping her distance. Her hips were back a lot. She was circling a lot. That's no excuse for Erin not to get in there and muck it up and take her down. But I think Namajuna's game plan was geared towards stopping the takedowns. It didn't work in the last 2 rounds because Erin Blanchfield is a really good fighter who, yes, did not put together a complete 25-minute performance. That's fine, but I don't think we've seen the best of her.
I'm sure we haven't, but my issue is exactly what you said. She didn't muck it up. Like, outside of the not shooting any takedowns for 10 minutes, which is like malpractice, frankly. She like she is a bad striker. Like, there is no two-way around. She can be effective. She is bad. Like, she is very bad at it. It is ugly. It is inefficient. Sometimes it works because she is very tough. And previously it's worked because she did what she did in the final rounds of this fight. She is willing to engage. She is, honestly, it is not that dissimilar. She is like a slightly better version of Mackenzie Dern in this fashion, in that she is tough, and so she can take the shots and she will just get in there and sling them. And that, frankly, that got to Rose down the stretch, and it's how she has always fought, except for the first 10 minutes of this when she thought she was going to be a kickboxer, and she's very, very bad at that. I was encouraged by the ability to recognize this is not going well and to turn it on and just get it done. Again, did not have a lot of room to play with. That she can't do that against Alexa Grasso. That's not going to work. And that takes me to our next point here. After this win, you've called it a learning experience that we think she's going to get better. And I do largely agree with that. She is still right here in the mix of the upper tier of this competition. She called Alexa Grasso out. That frankly seems like a fight that will likely happen. Makes a ton of sense given the division. And so how do you feel about that call out, AK? And how do you feel about Blanchfield's chances based on what we just saw and what we have seen Grasso do through her trilogy of bouts with Valentina Shevchenko?
I really like the call out. And if we're going by just the third fight that Grasso had, Valentina Shevchenko, I actually really like Blanchfield's chances. She does have to focus on her strength. I've seen a lot in the comments, saw a lot on social media. We were talking about it. It does feel like someone who's mixing, and I'm being serious this time, mixing the martial arts too much. You're mixing the martial arts too much. You know what your strength is. And again, listen, she's had some good moments on the feet, in the past. Like she had a great highlight reel knockout in Invicta, the head kick. So like I understand there's a part of her and her team that are like, man, like for her to be a world champion, she has to shore up this striking. We know she can grapple. And I think again, this is the part where they're retooling, and we're seeing a lot of growing pains, right? But that version of Grasso that fought Shevchenko in the third fight, I don't know what was going on with her that night. She did not look great. I mean, she looked worse than Blanchfield. If we're criticizing Blanchfield's performance, Grasso looked terrible against Valentina Shevchenko. And Shevchenko is one of the greatest women's fighters of all time. But still, like we said, based on what we saw in the other two fights, it shouldn't have been that bad. So if Blanchfield comes in with the same grappling heavy game plan, I actually like her chance of beating Grasso a lot. So I'm excited to see that fight. At the same time, like I said, maybe that was just an off night for Grasso, and the one that fought Shevchenko to a controversial draw and beat Shevchenko in the first fight, maybe that's the one comes in and teaches Blanchfield a lesson. So I don't know if that's where the UFC is going to go with it. It seems doubtful, if I'm being honest. I think they'd want to keep them away for now. There are other options at flyweight. There's actually a lot of probably interesting names for both. But if that fight does happen down the road, I actually do like Blanchfield's chances.
The issue, AK, is she's not mixing the martial arts.
It's
she's
frustrating.
She's doing the martial arts separately together.
Yeah.
It like she's not blending them. There was no striking into a takedown. It was striking, oh, now we are close to each other and I will grab you. Like it was, there's a lot of room for her to get better, which could be very positive. But she seems to have certainly plateaued in some of her development at this point. So I am genuinely very interested in a Grasso fight, but no real wrong way to do this. Macy Barber's kind of hanging around there on a big win streak, kind of in that same tier of conversation. Natty Ice, nothing, a lot of options. So you are right on that. On the other side of this, though, Rose Namajunas now her second loss at this weight class. We didn't hear from her in her post-fight speech. Again, I thought she was very competitive. I personally scored it for her. Where do we go with Rose? Where is Rose's purpose? Because I maintain that she should still be a strawweight. She obviously has 2 wins over the current strawweight champ. I think that is her natural weight class. And now that she's suffered 2 losses here, do we think it may be time for her to say, okay, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to go back to my home? Or is this just a close enough fight she's going to hang around and try and keep making it work at 125?
Oh, she's definitely going to hang around. She's definitely going to hang around. I mean, I'm with you though. Should she? No. She's pretty damn strong, I will say. I thought strength would be more of an issue at 125, and I think tonight I guess it kind of was once Blanchfield turned it on. But there was moments early when she kind of reversed that takedown on Blanchfield, and yes, it has a lot to do with her technique. Rose has always had great technique, but she's strong. She's probably strong enough for the division, but it does feel like at the worst moments, that size differential is going to get to her. And again, it may lead to moments like this where it looks like she's doing great, do it for a couple of rounds, and then the bottom falls out, and she's just not able to stop takedowns. She's not able to stop some of the fighters from walking her down. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I know she's chasing the Valentina fight. She said many times she loves Valentina. I think they've trained together like they're friends, but it's like it would be a really cool fight. I think in her mind she has this idea that if she fought Valentina, it's just something she needs to cross off her list. It's like, oh, I don't know, like John Jones, Stipe Miocic. Jed, you love that fight, so you can understand why Rose would be motivated to fight someone she sees as a great peer, maybe idolizes. But it's a long way to get into that fight now. It feels like it was something that would happen when maybe Valentina loses the title down the road. So I don't know what the path is for Rose to get that within the next year. Seems unlikely, but I think she's kind of enjoying not cutting weight. I think, like you said, she could look at the scoring and say, oh, well, maybe I just dropped that one round, or I felt I did enough. The judges got it wrong. Why should I change divisions? Let me stick around at 125 and see what happens. So it would really surprise me if her next fight was at 115. But it is always awkward when, like, man, she has 2 wins over the 115 champion. I know she feels like maybe she doesn't need to do anything else down there. She's done it all in her former division. But I really think she can still be a contender down there. She's only one. Again, I'm to keep bringing up ages, but she's what, 30, 32. She's 32. She doesn't turn 33 until next year. So I would like to see her at 115 sometime, but it won't be next.
I genuinely think the fastest path to a fight with Shevchenko is back at 115. Get the belt and try and make a champ fight happen. There's already talks of Wiley doing that. Virna Janjarova deserves a title fight. If Tatiana Suarez ever fights again, is obviously sort of in that mix. But if Rose drops back down, you can convince me they would immediately throw her into a title shot. And that seems better because, frankly, I think 125 is a failed experiment and she should give up on it. It is not that she cannot compete. She obviously can. She was very competitive tonight. She's very competitive in the loss to Montefiore. The issue to me is that she does not have power at this weight class pretty definitively. Blanchfield's tough, but her power has not carried up. She did not have like monstrous power at strawweight, but she had enough, and could be dangerous at times. And I think she got hurt a couple of times tonight by Blanchfield. I think the power coming back at her is also a little more than she is really built to withstand at this point of her career. So, yeah, I think she go back to strawweight, but we'll see. And if she sticks around, she can stick around and still just be in fights. She's very marketable. People love her. They loved her tonight out in Edmonton. So, kind of do what we're going to do. A couple of other notes here. First, AK,
Can I chime in?
we do have. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. When I was watching this fight, I had flashbacks to Rose versus Carla.
First 10 minutes, I thought it was the same fight.
But even as the fight went on, I mean, that fight was horrible to watch. This fight was not as horrible to watch, but still wasn't a great fight to watch. A lot of the talk coming into this, at least with some of the commenters, were like, oh, which Rose will show up? Which Rose will show up? Like sometimes Rose just doesn't show up. Was any of that there tonight, or did Rose just lose?
I think some of that is there. Yeah, I think some of that's there because I think that Rose does not want to grapple with people because it does not work out for her when she is not in charge of the grappling. To me, like I've rewatched the Carla fight a lot, even though it's bad, because they're just trying to make sense of it. And it is entirely that Rose has become, and this is not just these, but it's the most pronounced when she is facing people who really want to grapple her, in that she is super defensive about wanting to lose the fight. I don't want to lose the fight. And if I get taken down, and we saw 2 takedowns were landed in this fight, and she held them functionally for the end of the round as soon as she got them. Like when the takedown was achieved, that was it. Rose was done for the rest of that round. I thought a lot of the Carla fight was, I just don't want to engage with her at all because as long as I'm standing, I will win. Thought there was a lot of that tonight. And just in general, when she is discounted entirely, she feels more free to engage in offense and kind of be her best self. And when it is a competitive fight or a reasonable fight, to me, super armchair psychology could totally be wrong. It feels like she is so afraid of losing that she doesn't try to win. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I felt, I know, I want to hear your opinion. We talked a little about this on Slack. I think it was the second round. She got a hip throw or something. I can't remember, but she had a
step across from the thing.
But Rose ended up in a solid side control position on top of Erin. And she immediately got up and just continued all right, no, let's do this standing up. That to me, giving up that position told me like, oh, Rose is fighting not to lose. And that is just not a way, I don't know. She lost the fight because of that. And not because of that moment, but maybe the overall mindset. And I think in the moment, I think maybe you thought that was good strategically, but I don't know, psychologically, maybe, is that kind of what you're kind of saying? Like when Rose fighting not to lose by giving up that because Rose is an excellent grappler. She's in a dominant position over probably a better grappler, but still, I don't know. I just felt that was odd.
I didn't think of it that way. I do think strategically that is just a better plan. She was clearly winning the exchanges on the feet, so just bail and get back to where you are doing the best. But I do think you're probably right that there is some of that is speaking to an overall mentality that's negative. But AK, do you have any thoughts? Like, are we crazy? Are we barking up the wrong tree, or is Rose fighting too passively for whatever reason?
I think some of the criticisms we had of Blanchfield, about like changing your game plan, sort of growing pains, things like that. I think we're seeing a little bit of that with Rose, starting from the Carla Esparza fight. That's really when things started to go wrong. No, there was elements of this this kind of Rose, this tactical Rose in the second Zhang fight. Maybe the second JJ fight, but I think people would agree she just was generally seemed a lot more aggressive, a lot more effective at 115. So maybe that's not fair to say. But whatever adjustments she's had to make again to deal with maybe larger opponents, maybe with giving up reach, I think it's. I don't think you guys are overreacting at all. Like these are very real, tangible things, and that's not to say she can't go back to that. I think Jed, that's one reason you and I keep pushing the 115 thing. Is like we feel like she goes down to strawweight, just out of like necessity, out of habit, out of the way those matchups are down to that weight class, we'll see a little bit more of the vintage form, the fan-friendly form that people seem to like from her. But I think in her mind, I think for her team, they see this as a mature way of fighting, not always hunting for the finish. Making their opponents sort of come to them, making their sort of trying to find weird ways to break their opponent's rhythm, and it's not always fun to watch. It's sometimes quite miserable to watch, unfortunately, even when she's winning. But it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back. I think these are like big tactical changes that they've made, and I think they're comfortable with them because they don't feel like they've been like blown out in any of these fights, right?
And that is not a bad point. They have not. Her losses have been competitive in all of the ways. I will just counterpoint and say the last time she was fun was the first Wiley fight. The second Wiley fight is a decent, like it's a fine fight, but the last time Rose was like Thug Rose, the person that people gravitated to, that's almost 4 years ago at this point. It was a long time. So I will be interested to see where she goes, but we got other things to get to for us.
We got breaking news, Jed.
Breaking news.
I mean, nothing that. Sorry, I didn't mean to get people excited. Performance bonuses. No, don't. Performance bonuses and gate information. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Ooh, I did see the gate information. I saw the performance bonuses. Performance bonuses were an easy guess.
So we don't need to guess. Okay, but let's just talk about we'll get that in a second, guys. But according to UFC, this is official on their website. Gate 2.6 million attendance, 16,439. Asterisk. The highest grossing UFC fight night in history in North America. Now, guys, if this sounds familiar, I think this has also been said about the last two times they've gone on the road, right? Wasn't it? They went to like Nashville. Where'd they go, guys?
St. Louis.
In the US. St. Louis and what am I forgetting? Denver. They went back to Denver. Oh, that was a while ago. Salt Lake City. That's for pay-per-view.
That was pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's pay-per-view. I just know Louisville. Last time I went to Louisville, they'd also broken the record that time. Blah blah. And this is how invincible. Like I'm not questioning the numbers. This is how invincible the UFC product is. Like I think they did. Like I said, I think they did a good job getting name value on here with Namajunas and Brandon Moreno, putting on Canadian fighters. That's really all I think local fans who, if you haven't been to the city in a while, asked for, right? Because it had been like 5 years since they've been to Edmonton or something. So people are starved. This is not adjusting for inflation, by the way. So I don't know, you guys, you math whizzes out there, tell me how much this 2.6 gate, like how good it is compared to actually whatever the number was last time. You guys are a lot smarter than me. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if it's still a high number, one of the 2, 3, 4 highest gates, because again, they've raised the ticket prices, just keep going up. But the demand is still there. People keep paying it. And it just shows you, man, it doesn't matter what they put in these fight night cards. People will come out. It is a powerful, powerful, powerful brand.
Printing money is what they're doing. And as a result, Dave Shaw, who did the post presser, it's been thrown out several times, but kind of reiterated, they anticipate going to the Apex fewer or less in 2025, doing more road shows as well. Not abandoning the Apex, but maybe mixing, getting to a happier number, certainly for fans who want the UFC to come to them, and for us at home who would like a real crowd for fights because crowd was very lively tonight, AK. We do need to give out the bonuses because we did not mention those. So no fight of the night this evening, 4 performance bonuses, and it's extremely easy to guess who got them. Yasmin Yasadavicius, Dustin Stolfitz, Charles Jourdain, and Yusuf Zalal all getting performance bonuses. AK, let me run down the other results on this card. Then I'm going to ask you for your unsung hero of the night, the other person who deserves some shine, and we'll keep on moving. But other than the main and co-main, Brinson Ribeiro defeats Caio Machado split decision in a fight that no one will ever talk about ever again. Yasmin Yasadavicius gets a Bravo choke finish over Ariane de Silva in the 3rd round. Got her a bonus. Dustin Stolfitz, arguably the performance of the night. Brutal knockout of Marc-Andre Barril. Mike Malott back in the win column, doing it big for Canada. Defeats a game Trevin Giles, unanimous decision. Eamon Zahabi beats Pedro Munoz and makes me look stupid. Charles Jourdain, shout out EKC. Sorry for your boy Victor Henry. Charles Jourdain choked him out and got $50K for his trouble. Yusuf Zalal, also a tremendous performance. Arm triangle choke over Jack Shore. Alexander Romanov, Rodrigo Nascimento was exactly what we all thought it would be. Romanov wins a decision. Sergey City takes a controversial split decision over Garrett Armfield that he himself doesn't believe he deserved. Cody Gibson defeats Chad Helliger, and Jamie Lynn Horth takes a splitty over Ivana Petrovic. So, AK, 13 fights, one of the longest cards in UFC history. We talked about the main, talked about the co-main. Who did the heavy lifting outside of the top 2? Who is the person who deserves for us to be talking about them right now and in this coming week?
Well, Jed, I put up a poll. Who was the biggest winner at UFC Edmonton? Brandon Moreno, Erin Blanchfield, Jasmine Yasadavicius, and my 4th option, who is also 4th in the poll right now, and who I spelled with an extra S in his name. Gosh darn it! Because that's how good he was today. Because he won by submission. The S is by submission. Is for submission. It's Yusuf Zalal. Yusuf Zalal, I feel like, needs to be talked about. This guy was very promising when he was in the UFC 4 years ago. Won his first 3 fights, excuse me, and then he runs into Ilia Topuria in his 4th UFC fight and doesn't get knocked out.
Pretty good guy.
Pretty good. Then loses and then goes winless for 4 straight fights. Sung Woo Choi decision loss, Sean Woodson decision loss, and Damon Blackshear a draw. So then he goes back to the regional scene. He does it the right way and wins 3 straight fights, all by finish. First round, just runs through regional competition, gets that call back, and now Billy Q, Charno Aarons, Jack Shore wins. Fantastic stuff. He really, I thought his post-fight mic work was great. He really seems like the blueprint for things don't go your way your first time around in the UFC. Book some smart fights that help you get your confidence back while also still keeping your skills developing. And then, when the time comes back to take that call, because when you get that UFC fighter tag next to your name, you can probably get a few extra bucks going to you could probably go to Bellator, you could probably go to PFL, you could probably go to One, you could probably go, it does add a lot to your resume, right? I think about like Sage Northcutt, like when he got cut from the UFC, he immediately went to a very big organization and One, and as we know, things didn't go great there. What if Sage had gone to, I'm looking where Yusuf went, Sparta Combat League in Colorado, and just fought some guys who frankly were probably built up as their enhancement talent. They were made to make him look good. What if he had done that? Because I think that's what Yusuf Zalal did, and I think the results have been great. 6 straight wins now overall. And he looks like a sleeper contender at 145. Very deep division. Probably still not like in the top 25, but again, that just says how good the division is, not any criticism of his skills. So for me, he's the guy to talk about because I feel like his next appearance will be on a main card against a top 20, 25-ish guy, and we'll get a really good idea of what Zalal has to offer.
I think it's a great shout out. Zalal is almost a lock to make the all violence team. When I do that at the end of the year, Topuria will be the all violence featherweight. But second teamer, third teamer for Zalal. It's been an unbelievable 2024 for him, and a fight that I did not think would go as easy for him. Jack Shore was competitive early, but Zalal knocked him out and submitted him. The old club and sub maneuver. Great performance. I will shout out, not because this was a great fight, not because this is as good or as interesting a performance as some of these others, but because I will begrudgingly give the man his flowers. Amin Zahabi beating Pedro Munoz is a big win. I did not think he would do that. I also do not think Pedro Munoz fought a particularly smart fight either, but neither here nor there. Amin Zahabi is on a big win streak at this moment. Called for a top 15 opponent last time. He gets Pedro, who's been top 15, kind of in the fringes, and summarily beats him. No controversy here. Just a clean win for a guy who I still don't understand what he is good at. And like can't really think of like the Amin Zahabi highlight reel, but appears to have really found himself in a good spot and should get a ranked opponent. And so you got to shout him out because Pedro Munoz is a really tough guy. If you beat him, credit to you, man. Like not only very good fighters have beaten Pedro. So shouts to that. Shouts to the rest of the people, particularly those who got finishes to try and make this extremely long event a little less long. And Casey, hop on in here. Do you have anything else that you would like to shout out? I intentionally did not give a shout out to the villain, Charles Jourdain, because we hate him. But anything else before we go to the peeps?
Actually, I want to give Charles Jourdain his flowers. I know Victor Henry was really prepared for this. In camp, him put lots of emphasis on guillotine defense, but yet still got him. First time in Victor Henry's long career, I think 32 professional fights, that first time he's been finished and by guillotine. So he did it, and Jourdain looks good, really good at 35. I don't know what his ceiling is, but he looked healthy. He fought well, and Charles Jourdain at 135 pounds could be a player. So I will give him his flowers.
And that's very honorable of you. Yeah, making the drop to 135. I'll need to see more, but certainly a good start over a guy who's incredibly durable in Victor Henry. So credit to him. And also credit to you, AK, because I don't know if you've paid attention. I think tonight you may have locked up our fantasy season. It's not set in stone, but with Shaheen Al-Shadi only getting 100 points for Erin Blanchfield,
125. 125.
I was 125. Correct. He got the 125.
Yeah.
But he is now considerably behind you with only Shavkat left to play. You have John Jones and Azamat Murzakanov. And unfortunately for our dear Mike Heck, while Mike Malott got him 100, he needed a little more. He only has a few people left. One of those is Wiley Zhang, who does not appear to be fighting this year. Alessandro Costa, unclear if he's going to fight. So I think tonight, it's not official, but you may well have locked up the inaugural fantasy season by doing nothing.
But you know what I did? I drafted great fighters and fighters with like fights with real stakes, unlike the coward Shaheen Al-Shadi, who drafted, and I use this respectfully to the fighters. This is really more an insult to Sean than the fighters. Random assholes. Okay, that was his draft strategy. Let me throw some names out here: Robelis Despain, Umar C, Ramazan Tamirov. These are fighters I guarantee almost that Shaheen could not pick out of a lineup, and yet he brazenly drafted these fighters, thinking, oh, they're in these big mismatches. They're all going to get like knockouts or subs and post-fight bonuses, and on several of these occasions fell very, very flat. So I am very happy. I know it's not quite wrapped up yet, but I'm feeling pretty good. I have
there is a mathematical there's a mathematical out for Sheen to catch you, and there's a mathematical out for Mike to catch you, even with a couple of people not competing. But that is also presuming John does not win. If John wins, it's over. And I gotta tell you,
John Jones.
I think you're going to do okay.
I'm pretty confident.
Congratulations. And you did that even with drafting Peyton Talbot, who's not going to compete this year. So
that should
way to go.
The fight is booked. It was booked. It's booked this year. That should count. It's fighting for January. That should count.
Draft him in the next season, which we'll do in January. Okay, just wanted to give that update because while we were waiting around, I pulled the numbers, and it's a terrific season for you, AK. Well done. But Casey, what do the peeps have to say? Because this is your show now. We won't go that long. We don't need to. It's already kind of late on the East Coast, and nobody's like that pumped about UFC Edmonton, unless you guys are. And if you are, you know the deal. Fire in your chats, super chats get priority. We'll hang around, answer some cues, and then get on out of here.
All right, let's hit the super chats first. First super chat from our great friend, Steven.
Steven, boys, Jed, why pants number 2 flyweight? Cejudo, Joe B. I don't think this needs that much explanation. Cejudo, his flyweight run was solid, but he won the belt and immediately left. So, like, okay. And then Joe B, obviously a great fighter. He did not win the belt and never won the belt, and that docks you fairly major points in my book. Like, if you were never the best guy, you need to have an overwhelming case to be the number 2 guy. And while I would like to believe that Joseph Benavidez would have had a long reign if Demetrius Johnson didn't exist, he didn't. And Pantoja, like I said on the ranking show, Pantoja has 9 wins over ranked fighters. No other UFC champion is approaching that right now. It's a very good run, even if it's a little more low key. And so he's the number 2 flyweight. I don't think that should be that up for debate. Unless I'm wrong. Do you guys think I'm wrong? Is he not?
Yeah, I'm a huge Joe B fan. I'm not such a huge Cejudo fan. I'd rather make a case for like Joe B than Cejudo, but I get it. Cejudo has the Mighty Mouse win. Very close fight, by the way, the Mighty Mouse win. Joe B has a win over Henry Cejudo. Also a very close fight. You can go back and look at that one. Pretty close fight. There was a point deduction in there. So, I mean, if you don't want to count that too much to Joe B's credit, I understand. But again, if we're just talking official results, Cejudo has Mighty Mouse, but Benavidez has Cejudo. I also think Cejudo just did more at 125. But yeah, I wouldn't put either of them over Pantoja. Because again, even if Pantoja is just not counting the title fight, he beat Moreno before they fought for the title. He has massive wins on his resume. So yeah, very comfortable with pants number 2. Cejudo, just the way, just his whole career once he finally won a UFC title is just gives you a friggin' headache. So no thanks, no number 2 for me.
If Cejudo had stuck around, but he didn't.
Big if. Yeah,
he moved up. And to me, that's always a thing in these arguments where it's like, I think this a lot about Dustin Poirier, because Dustin Poirier's career as total is amazing, and his lightweight run is very, very good. But there's also a big chunk of his career that is at featherweight, and like that, if he had been a lightweight the whole time, maybe he'd have an even better run. It's just when you do the bouncing in weight classes, you get some other benefits to that. You get to be champ, et cetera, et cetera. But your divisional status, by definition, takes a hit.
Real quick for Pants, I agree. Pants, I kind of reluctantly give him the number 2 spot just because I want to give it to Joe B, but he just came at the wrong time. I mean, basically. But is he kind of locked as number 2, or if he loses to Kai, is he like? Do we kind of, I don't know, change his history, like how we look at it, or?
I don't know.
We wait till we see. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good question. I would say it's probably his for now, though. You could make arguments for Davison Figueiredo. You know, like there are arguments for other people, and it will depend how the next few years play out. The gap between Pants and number 3 is very, very small, whereas the gap between number 2 and Demetrius is a giant chasm. Like, we're not being 2 to Demetrius it's great, but he is a long way away from that.
Yeah, like if Demetrius is the UFC, Pants is PFL.
Nice. Nice.
Well put.
Well done. Like Pants is not Israel Adesanya as a middleweight.
Yeah.
Like Izzy's clearly the second best middleweight ever. Pants ain't that. It's just I think he's number 2
For now,
because
yeah.
he's done. Yeah, for now he's done the most.
All right. Are we gonna say anything else, AK? You good?
I have nothing more to add.
Appreciate it. All right.
I'm still trying to find media scores for the top 2 fights tonight.
Everyone fell asleep.
Yeah, people MMA decisions. We're done. They just.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Nah, man, just take the night off. That was just taking too long. I don't blame them.
Yeah,
we'll see it by Monday.
I've never seen MMA decisions. They do half the card. Like, you know what? We're out.
We're out.
How long is this card?
The biggest 2 fights? No thanks.
Okay.
Not interested.
All right.
Thank you, Steven.
Thank you, Steven. Okay. Achilles Jr.
Achilles Jr. Moreno. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. Bing rips and your country is cool, AK. This is a very positive message from Achilles.
Thank you, Achilles. Sorry, I wish New York Rick was still around to hear these positive messages because I know you're his favorite. You were his favorite MMAfighting.com member, but
who's
he's doing
that?
great work. He's also a journalist. He's in the industry.
New York
Who is
I never heard him.
You never heard of him.
He's a guy from New York.
Sounds like he sucks.
Yeah.
Well, he's okay if you get to know him. My country is cool.
But your country is great.
Yeah.
Cool if we can.
I'd rather meet Canada Rick. He sounds cooler.
Yeah.
Edmonton Rick rolls right off the tongue.
Thank you, Ketis Jr. Super chat coming in from Steven.
Steven Parker Porter just
Do
for
it.
the horn, Stacy. Gives the man what he wants.
Yep. Thank you much, Steven.
I mean, why is Parker Porter cut when Alexander Romanov and Rodrigo Nascimento are still? And honestly, they may not. Apparently, in his post-fight scrum, Romanov said that was the last fight in his contract. Would not stun me if the promotion opted not to resign him.
I'll be so
Who's
upset.
Romanov?
Yeah.
He says free
Come
agent.
on.
It's the last fight of his contract. I want them to. I love Alexander Romanov. I take great joy in him, but I would not be up in arms if they're like, we're just not offering you a contract. Go fight Francis.
Yeah.
Francis, come on versus Romanov. Let's go. It's the top 15 heavyweight.
Romanov is still he's like my Jake Matthews. Like, your Jake Matthews. He's my Jake Matthews. Like, I still believe
Romanov was my Jake Matthews for a while.
Oh, you okay? I love Romanov so much.
It's like he can wrestle. What other heavyweight can wrestle? Oh, actually, he can fight for 6 minutes and then he can't. I do have a ton of respect for him. I said this in our Slack. I love that he was jacked Romanov for one fight. Yep. Realized that it made no difference and that lifestyle is much harder. And he was the flabbiest he's ever been tonight. Yeah. So much so that the commentary team noted it during the announcements.
Even DC.
Man, he used to be kind of built, and now he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He was coming in a trim 240. That's not the case this evening. Way to go, Romanov. Choose happiness.
You know what? He won.
And he won. He won.
30-27 on one card, so I mean, he won, man. 30-27 on all cards. Excuse me, swept him.
Yeah.
Shut out.
He's the best.
He does look like a middleweight with about extra 100 pounds around him. I love that, man.
It's the best.
Did you see Moicano? Did you see Moicano's tweet?
No.
God.
He was like, "I'm convinced all heavyweights are just like guys who don't want to cut down to 205. Like, prove me wrong." And I'm like, "No,
or middleweight maybe sometimes."
Yeah.
Like a lot of, Jared Cannonier famously was that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not wrong.
Brian Battle. Did you guys ever see the Brian Battle transformation?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, did he used to be a big boy too?
He said
did you not know that? Oh,
he said he before he got into fighting, he was over 300 pounds, and then he actually fought at heavyweight. He fought at heavyweight a long time ago. It doesn't even look the same. Like if you look at the pictures, you feel like it's not the same guy.
Wow,
So,
I didn't know that. He's a welterweight now, right?
Now he's at 170. Yeah, very nice looking 170.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Fine, learning so much.
BJ
today.
Penn fought at heavyweight because he's the king. BJ forever. Charles. Why can't Pat Barry in the corner ever STFU for a
What?
sec?
That's his
I didn't
job.
notice it. Was he loud?
They
He like
did.
normally is, but I did
They
not
did
notice.
do corner cam. I think it's only. I think during the corner cam, he was talking the entire time. He was talking incessantly. I don't know if that was during the entire fight, but that's what people on TV saw. So it did come off as like, oh wow, he's just constantly talking.
And the crowd wasn't like loud, so you could basically hear. There were moments during the co-main event. It definitely felt like the apex, even though there were 17,000 people there. So you could hear all the corners. So I don't know. We'll ask Pat Perry why.
That's his
Pat
job.
Barry. Yeah.
You don't want
he's
your
doing his
corner.
job.
Yeah, you don't want your corner being quiet as kept, right? I mean, you certainly don't want them talking all the time, but he's doing his job.
All right. Thank you, Charles.
Andrew, gosh, why hasn't Kai Kara France been in the title talk at Flyweight? Because he's lost to the people that are in front of him is my general answer. Do you guys? I mean, like he did just brutally knock out Steve Erceg, but before that, Brandon Moreno dusted him up. And while many people do not agree with the decision, he did lose to Amir Albazi. So
yeah, he also is pretty regularly mentioned in title time. He fought for the interim flyweight title already, and then there's the Albazi split call, and that's about it. He hasn't fought that much.
Yeah, it's just
frankly in the last 2 years, he hasn't fought that much. So I don't know how close to the title picture you want to be, but he does get mentioned pretty frequently as like, oh, if he gets a big win here, gets a big win. If he had beaten Albazi, he would have been right in the thick of it. So he only fought 2 fights ago. He fought for interim. 3 fights ago.
Is he booked for anything right now? Am I forgetting? No. Okay, he's just not in the news cycle because once he gets, to me, he's one big victory away from getting it. That's all. So he knows how to talk.
I'm going to guess that Andrew's more talking that specifically we were talking about kind of the title picture and his name was pointedly left out right now. And just say, because he does need another win. But there was like, after he knocked out Erceg, and it was like, who the hell's fighting Pants next? Because there was no obvious choice. It was like, I don't know, could you throw him in there? Like, he's kind of around, but he needs a big performance, a big win over somebody. And I just don't know who that's going to be because he's already fought the dudes above him fairly recently.
I'm looking at the 306. That was just the main card, right? The main card 306.38. The time.
Oh yeah, I think that's correct.
Holy shit.
No, I think that's the actual fight time.
Fight time.
I'm sorry. That was the
not
fight,
of the thing. That is the fight time. Of the 13 fights collectively.
Right. I'm sorry.
And
you said that before. You said that before.
Yeah. And if Derek Lewis would have fought and that card when it went to decision, they would have broken the record.
Would have broken the record.
That would have been hilarious. That would have been really funny.
I'm
sure.
Hilarious. That's comedy. That's what comedy is.
That is really, what I was thinking. I was thinking how funny that would be.
Highest grossing UFC event UFC fight night in North America, guys. Have some respect.
Yeah. You got your money's worth.
You got your money's worth.
You got
who pays for quick knockouts?
You got a lot of fight per dollar if you attended and were there from the very beginning to the very end.
Yeah, thank you, fighters. Don't. Yeah. All right. And our last super chat.
Steven Dawson. Can we talk about the judging tonight? Armfield should have won 3-0. Brinson Ribeiro with the stunning robbery 2 despite being outstruck in every round.
You can't get me to talk about that Ribeiro Machado fight as a robbery. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to do it. I looked at that fight. I'm sorry. The numbers do not tell the story. I watched that fight with my own eyes. Neither guy looked like they deserved to win. Jack nor shit. It was bad, man. I like Kyle Machado, God bless him, representing Canada. Like, that was rough. And this maybe his last shot. 0-2 at heavyweight. I thought he physically looked great down at 205. I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, he's just not a heavyweight. Like, he's not a heavyweight. This is where he's supposed to be. And he kind of fought like a really shitty heavyweight. And I don't mean that anywhere near.
That's what he is.
Yeah, apparently. And Brenson, a guy with pretty good knockout power, I don't think he landed some good shots. Let me say, Machado has a good chin. I don't want to say Ribeiro landed nothing. He landed some good shots. I don't want to take it away. But did he come close to like a pilot rail knockout or anything? No. I don't think so. I'm not calling that a robbery. Armfield City, much stronger case. City himself said after that he thought he lost. So you guys make of that what you will.
I frankly just did not watch Armfield City. I was building some stuff for us. So I have no things until City said it. And then you kind of look at the numbers like, oh, it seems bad. The feature fight, I want to, and this is a little bit irrational, and I recognize that. We should really only use the term robbery when it's an outcome that somebody cares about, because no one can possibly care about this. I, like you, AK, I watched that fight. I stared at it for 15 minutes with my eyeballs, and I can't tell you anything that happened in it. And I was focused, doing my job, watching it, because it was just nothing. They fought. Nobody did anything memorable. Who cares? Like, I am sure the fighters care. It is significant to them. We should not care about things like that because there's too much other stuff to care about than the Brinson Ribeiro Kai Machado judging. That's just
life is
not going to be me.
That was way too high in the card. It was just way too high in the card.
Well, I still do not understand why that was the feature fight. It's baffling, but
let me tell you, I'm going to promise this right now. I will promise this right now. If someone out there via some sort of free website, I don't know, how do people blog for free? You can blog for free somewhere, right?
yes.
I don't want someone to spend money.
WordPress.
Use WordPress or something. If you write a robbery review of Ribeiro and Machado, if you write a robbery review, tag me on Twitter at Alexander Keeley. I will retweet it. I'll read it. I will read it. Yes, I will for sure read it. I will retweet it. I will comment. I will add a reply to anything to boost it. If you take the time to do this, and sincerely, like, it can't just be like a blurb, like, oh, dude, like, put a little bit of effort into it. Look at one of my robbery reviews and, like, don't do exactly that, but do something similar. I will retweet you. So aspiring MMA writers and masochists, go watch this fight again, write it up, give me 750 to 1,000 words on it. I will retweet you.
I mean, what an absolute hero. Oh, you are, AK.
Am I, or am I cruel? Am I like Jigsaw from the Saw movies at this point? Am I just screwing with people?
I mean, it's pretty cruel. I was trying to see if I still have.
Can I be sued for this, Casey? Can I be sued? Can you ask?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is torture. By
putting out the Machado Ribeiro challenge. Like, did I hashtag Ribeiro Machado?
Yeah, I'm sure it's breaking some sort. This is some sort of international war crime. I got to check. Yeah, I got to check the Geneva Convention. Yeah, whatever.
Damn, that was bad.
I feel like that was one of those fights where, like, yeah, I'm like you. Like, I watched it, but it's like when you're driving home. And you get home, you go like, I don't remember how I got home, but clearly I didn't get in a wreck, so I must have done something correct. I did a complicated thing, and that's how those fights were. Like, there were a couple of fights like, I was here, but then it was gone. So yeah. But guys, we've gone 100 minutes. Jeez, we've got an hour and 8 minutes. So
I think we can sign off soon.
Yeah. One last thing, just real quick. I just want, because we didn't mention it.
Great.
Gotta love seeing a Rolling Thunder again, the Peter Graham special. Fun. Brandon Moreno wrapping up with a Rolling Thunder in a fight he was winning. It's pretty sick. Also, because we didn't mention it at all for reasons, shout out Mike Malott. Got a win. Was genial and effervescent on the microphone. Will he ever be the champion? No, but doing it big for Canada, our friends in the North.
I'm probably still in no bets barred mode, Jed, because you had me on this week. But he probably lost a lot of people a lot of money though, who put inside the distance or Malott by KO or fight to end before 2.5 rounds. He cost me a lot of money, and so did, at least I hope, anyone who listens to No Bets Barred. You didn't lose money if you listen to me tell you don't bet on Marc-Andre Barriault. Don't bet. Nice guy, talented fighter. For whatever reason, guys cannot put it together in the cage. And I told people he should not be a 2-1 favorite over Stoltzfus. I told people. That's all I'm saying.
Most importantly, the climb continues, AK.
Yes.
We're on stage 4, 26 to go, 30 bets in a row. Let's knock them down. But that's for next week where there's some guard. Oh, it's Apex 100. Sorry. It's a big card, the biggest card. We got you locked for all that this week. On to the next one tomorrow morning. That's Alexander K. Lee. That's E. Casey Leiden. I think I'm pointing in the wrong directions, but you get the point. Thank you all for sticking with us late into the evening for this underwhelming card. We couldn't be here without you, and we love you so gosh darn much. We love Canada. We love fighting. We love everything. Good night, everybody.